Florida A&M University established the Medical Marijuana Education and Research Initiative known as McGARY to help educate diverse communities about medical marijuana as well as the potential consequences to health and well-being from the unlawful use. They invite you to learn more. Knowledge is power. Visit mmeri.famu.edu. That's mmeri.famu.edu. And follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. McGARY, educate, learn, talk.
And they're looking, and then when we make that statement, they look at us like, well, how does that so? And then we have to remind them, well, Margaret Sanger, when she said, we don't want the word to get out, but we want to fully exterminate the Negro population, she didn't say we want to fully exterminate the Negro and the white, the Negro and the Hispanic, the Negro and the Asian, the Negro and the or any other. She said the Negro. She wanted to fully exterminate black babies. That is her target, and that's what she and Planned Parenthood have been masterful at doing. And so when we say every black life matters, all we're saying is we want to matter just as much as every other life. So it's a statement of equality. That is all we're saying. We just want to say, look, right now, while we would love to say all things are equal, hey, let's just move on. Everything's cool. We're all equals. We're all, everything's fine. We're making a statement, but it's not, because blacks are being exterminated to such a disproportionate extent by virtue of Planned Parenthood that while everybody else is being born at this extent up here, blacks are being born at this extent down here. So we have to make this statement so we can bring people's awareness to this, so we could now hopefully be born at a higher level, so we can be born hopefully at the level that everybody else is. So that's how it's a statement of equality and not a statement of superiority. I hope that's making sense to you, BZ, and to your listeners. It is not a statement of superiority. We are not making a statement of power. We're making a statement of equality.
In doing the background for you tonight, and folks, I'm talking to Kevin McGARY, who is the creator and president of EBLM, Every Black Life Matters. I found what I consider to be a real predicating sentence from you that I think you gave when you were talking to Fox. And one of the things you said, well, the sentence that grabbed me was, you said, before black lives can matter, every single black life would have to matter. Yep. That nailed it for me. And then one final question, and then I'm going to have to go to a break. So I got about 1 minute left. Kevin McGARY, Lonnie Poindexter, I have never understood this. Perhaps you can tell me in about 60 seconds or so. I don't get why there is support in any community, much less the black community, for Margaret Sanger. I never, ever understood that. Do people do no research whatsoever about Planned Parenthood?
I can jump on that quickly before we go to break. BZ, was a significant amount of ignorance, concerning Margaret Sanger. And then there was propaganda associated with Margaret Sanger, where she was depicted as some type of civil rights leader, in some circles in the same vein as Martin Luther King Jr. And so once we begin to educate the community, and they connected the dots, they had their aha moment. Oh my goodness, I never knew. And I will just quickly state that, and Kevin knows this, and these of you know, and probably and your listeners, I think, as well. Planned Parenthood accomplished what the KKK could only dream of accomplishing as it relates to folks with a darker paying job.
It's just we can maybe take that up when we come back. I got to go to a break, folks. I'm talking to Kevin McGARY, president of EBLM, Every Black Life Matters, and also Lonnie Poindexter, who I believe is director of Lonnie. Help me out here, director of Partner Development, which is one of the reasons that I'm here, because of Lonnie. So, Kevin McGARY, thanks for being here. Lonnie, thanks for being here. We're going to go to a break and be right back after this, if you would, please.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network. Hey, are you guys listening? This is Shannon from Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media. I know you've been wondering where we are and what's been going on. Well, folks, that's right. We're back. So please join us 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday on SHR Media, on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Spotify, and Facebook Live at 11 a.m. on Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM at Facebook. You don't want to miss a minute. We've got lots of guests, lots of segments, and lots of interesting things. And let's face it, there's nowhere for you to go, so you might as well tune in. Again, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. We're back live on the air on SHR Media, 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday, audio and Facebook Live, audio and video. Yes, we are going to do video. Facebook Live, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Hope to see you soon.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that right now. Make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
Unleashed Jeremy Hansen, the most explosive pro-American podcast on the planet. Pro-MAGA, pro-Trump, pro-conservative. Come join the resistance. Fight for what really matters in America. 5 p.m. Central on UJHLive.com, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Pandora, or MAGABook.com. Come join the resistance and fight for America. Unleashed Jeremy Hansen.
Do you value yourself, your family, your friends? Want to know more about how to survive, thrive, and stay alive in these dynamic times? Listen to Around the Campfire with Kate, Thursday nights and Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, only on PSN TV. That's Around the Campfire with Kate. News that nobody in the MSM wants to report. Remember, train hard, train smart to survive, thrive, and stay alive.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back. I am BZ, the blow-be-eating Zeppelin. With me tonight are Kevin McGARY, president of EBLM, Every Black Life Matters, and Lonnie Poindexter, whom I have had on the show a bunch of times. We're going to be talking, well, we are talking about EBLM. So, thanks for being here tonight. I greatly appreciate it. And let's see, we were just talking at just before the break about Margaret Sanger. And Kevin McGARY, did you have any input about Margaret Sanger, or did you want to say anything about that particular topic, and then we'll kind of move on to EBLM more?
Yeah, no, I think Lonnie covered Margaret Sanger quite well. Yeah, she was an evil woman, and really it is propaganda that keeps her legacy alive. She is, Hillary spoke about her as a women's rights pioneer and a feminist, a heroine of sorts, and a women's rights pioneer. And so, that's what keeps her legacy alive. Fundamentally, though, she is not spoken about as the woman who started Planned Parenthood, and really family planning clinics is what they were prior to being named Planned Parenthood. But she started that. Her business model, her business plan was her quote, which was, "We want to exterminate the Negro population." That was her business model. Now, all of the other services. So the services like the checking the cervix and checking for mastectomies and all those other services were wraparound services to sort of sanitize what she really wanted to do, which was to first and foremost, just eliminate blacks. So those things came later, because she said, look, how can we do this without me being so overt and being shut down? Because if I go out and go into business with just bring me the blacks in here so I can just kill them, he should be shut down. So these other services were wraparound services. You understand what I'm saying?
It's ancillary, it's tertiary. It doesn't really have anything to do with the original goal of the movement. I can make it no more plain than the G word, genocide.
That's exactly right. That was her goal. So what they've done, though, is they put those ancillary services as fundamentally what they're all about. And, that's just 3%. The abortions are just 3%. No. That was the business plan, was the abortions for blacks in particular. That was the business plan. That was it. Yeah. And the other services were just ancillary. So anyway, but Lonnie covered it. No, we're good.
Okay. Kevin McGARY, on your website. Folks, go there quick like a bunny, as I indicate. And I'm sorry I should have asked you this at the very beginning of the show, what your website was. It's everyblm.com. Everyblm.com. That's where you can go and look and find out the goals, the mission, etc. of Every Black Life Matters. everyblm.com. And Kevin McGARY, you delineate 11 what you call guiding principles. I'd like to mention them if I could, and then have you expand upon each principle a little bit. Is that okay?
Oh, please do. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. The first one is pro-black life. Now, how is it that you mean that?
Well, how I mean that is that and again, this is not a statement of superiority. This is a statement of equality. Right now, what we're saying is, look, that means that we recognize that blacks are not equal in the sense that we don't view black life as equivalent when we allow organizations like Planned Parenthood to disproportionately target black life in the sense that we allow them to set up their abortuaries, 80 to 90% of them in black and brown areas, specifically targeting black life to be exterminated at disproportionate rates. And then we hear the stories, well, no, let's just supply and demand. They're not really trying to target. And then I always say, okay. So let's see, blacks make up 13% of the population. Right. And they're not targeting blacks. Oh, okay. But we make up 13% of the population. Now, if they were sincere and not targeting blacks, then it seems to me, and if they were just targeting women in general, it seems to me that then it would just do the smart thing. We have Target and Walmart that go after women in general. They've done an excellent job at doing demographic research. You would just put a Planned Parenthood at the back end of every Target and Walmart in the country. That's easy. They've done the demographic research. If you're sincere about just going where women go, guess what? Target and Walmart. There you go. Boop, done. You don't have to be a genius. You just do it, right? So there you go. You just do that if you were sincere. But no, they put 80 to 90% of all of their abortuaries in the black community. So they're targeting us. Number two, if we were sincere, the other reason why we make that statement is because blacks are disproportionately having to live through scenarios where in the summer months our black babies are being eliminated by virtue of gang violence, in the sense that we have the gangs are using these high power weapons, and the babies are unfortunately having to deal with we have these bullets going through walls, right, and they're killing these babies, and as a result of just, being sprayed through the walls of these apartment buildings and that kind of thing. And so, we have these kids in Chicago and New York and Baltimore and other places that are just being, unfortunately, part of the gang violence scenarios. Now, that's not targeted in a sense in any particular way. It's just unfortunate that is happening at a large disproportionate rate because of the urban violence that we see in some of these areas, and it just happens to be more black babies than anybody else. So when we have those kinds of instances, it just happens to be. And the other thing that we see is that we're not having equal opportunity in education. So we stand for school choice programs. We're so grateful that we're going to have an opportunity in Virginia to see those types of programs come to fore. And we're so happy that we're going to have parents with an opportunity to really voice their opinion about the types of education that their children can get in Virginia. Because that's very, very important. But we see black and brown students that are being tethered to public schools on purpose as part of public policy. And this is actual plight as a matter of public policy that is specific to black and brown communities, and it's disproportional, and it's purposeful, and it's driven, and so because of that, we don't have an equal playing field in that arena as well, and that holds our community back. There's been a lot of studies that have been done with school vouchers and those types of programs that have proven that the number one way, if you really want to end, if you really want to bring, if you want to end poverty, if you want to end a lot, if you want to change the trajectory of crime and poverty, you would have school voucher programs, and you would encourage fathers in homes. So these are the types of things that we should be encouraging, not discouraging, by way of policy. And so those are the types of things that why we emphasize and focus and make that statement. So it's a long-winded answer, but that's really what we're getting at there.
Your second guidepost is Black Economic Prosperity. Anti-Marxist. You are anti-Marxist. BLM is proud of the fact that they are Marxist. Patrice Cullors, her words only, a proud Marxist, and you are absolutely not.
Absolutely not. The number one way, so this is easy. The number one way, historically, everywhere in the world, it's been proven time and time again, that the number one way to pull people out of poverty is through free markets and capitalism. And it's not even close. Marxism has never, ever, ever worked. Marxism, communism, socialism has never worked. It has never pulled people out of poverty anywhere in the world, historically. And so capitalism and free markets has a great track record. And so that is the way that we actually help people. And so that's why we stand by it.
High expectations. You mentioned that earlier. There's a phrase that people bandy about now and then, the soft bigotry of low expectations. You have high expectations. You expect people to meet high expectations. And generally, when the norms are made clear to people that they must meet high expectations, they do. There is a soft bigotry of low expectations. You guys have high expectations.
Yeah, the soft bigotry of low expectation is what we saw in Portland a few months ago when they said, we want to make sure that everybody graduates. We're going to take all of the standards away this summer because we had COVID year last year. You don't have to, for our black and brown students, you don't have to know how to, I think what they said something like, you don't even have to, there's not going to be any exit exams or something. It was something crazy.
It was stupid. It was insane.
It was insane. It was like, and because we don't want, and it was so insulting. It was demeaning. It was specifically targeted at black children, because we don't want our black and brown students to be to feel any particular kind of way. And so it was demeaning specific, and it was racist in tone, and it was specifically targeted at the black community. And so I actually pushed back, and I actually had a couple of interviews based on that. But that is the soft bigotry of low expectations. We say, no. We need to push and push back on that. We need to have higher expectations, because when you lower the expectations, what you're saying is all of the people who went before us, even though we have brilliant engineers working right now around the world, brilliant architects, brilliant writers and playwrights around the world who are doing brilliant work today, who did excel based upon current academic standards. We're saying that, for this generation, we need to lower the academic standards. Well, wait a minute. We just graduated some people with high academic standards, and they're excelling based on those standards. How are we going to say now we need to look? What? This doesn't even make sense. What are we saying? How do you do this? So it's stupid.
It's way stupid. And you're right. It started in Portland. I'll flesh it out a little bit. Graduation guidance for Portland high school seniors. All seniors are going to be notified that they're going to graduate. Then the Democrat Governor Kate Brown of Oregon signed a bill into law August 10th this year that in the state, to graduate from high school, you don't have to prove that you even know how to read or write or understand math. That was Senate Bill 744. No news release. No telling anybody about that. It simply was passed, as many things do, in the dead of night. You have to prove zero. If you are a warm body, fabulous.
Yeah.
You graduate. It's just, this is me going, I just don't get it. I absolutely don't get it. But here's the deal.
Let me jump in here, because I'm over here in the amen corner, jumping up and down, going yes. When you look at the history of this nation in America and the American ideal, which we all should aspire to, America was never a great nation. Was never a perfect nation, but it's always been a nation based upon high ideals, based on a Judeo-Christian ethic. If you look at the history of the black community, which I affectionately call the folks with the darker paint job, you will note that after emancipation and during Reconstruction, we went from a populace in this nation that was primarily illiterate to a populace that was primarily literate, and we did it in less than a generation. That's unheard of if you look at on the world scene of peoples being able to go from being completely illiterate to being primarily literate in less than a generation's time. That's never been duplicated in the history of the world, yet it was accomplished here in this nation by us, though that we were second-class citizens in this nation fighting for our full civil rights, which we knew took time, but we still excelled. When we couldn't assimilate, we created our own. And we produced the engineers and the scientists. George Washington Carver is a perfect example. Booker T. Washington, another perfect example of what was done in spite of the setbacks and the roadblocks. And it speaks to the excellence of us as a people. Kevin shared his story. Hunters Point, that was the hood in San Francisco. O.J. Simpson came out of that community. And inspired greatness. That's our true history. That's American history. That's not just black history. That's American history in terms of folks overcoming in spite of the obstacles, because there is a God, and he is the final arbiter in the affairs of man.
Yes. Amen. Amen. That's it, baby.
All right, you got me preaching over here, Kevin.
That's it.
No, but it's true. What makes the difference, and the reason that I like to have people, as Lonnie says, of all paint jobs on the show, is to illustrate to people, I don't give a crap about your paint job. Right. I just care about people being conservative and motivated and faith-based and believe in keeping the nuclear family nuclear. So with that in mind, my point has always been, what is it that makes anybody think that the black community, air quotes, doesn't deserve police protection, or that they don't deserve school choice or vouchers? Do you think there's some difference between a black mom and a black dad that said, you know what, I don't really care about educating my kid very well? Nah, not today, not really.
Right.
That's just stupid. That's the biggest.
And Virginia showed us that. We had parents from the entire spectrum working together against the machine in Virginia, and they came together because they saw the reprobate, vile, disgusting sex education. It was laid bare, and they said, "Oh no, we are not going to allow our children to continue to be taught this garbage." And then they saw the CRT curriculum, and they said, "No way are we going to allow." And this was black, brown, white, Asian. All the parents came together, and they were of all persuasions, all political persuasions, and they worked together, and they said, "Nope, we're going to vote for only the person that is going to allow us to have some input on our child's education." And that's what coalesced them.
That was it. Kevin McGARY, you nailed it. I was listening to Dan Bongino. Say what you think about Dan Bongino, but I was listening to him talk to Martha McCallum.
That's my bro.
Dan Bongino was fired up today because he said one of the primary reasons that McAuliffe lost is, he said, and live, he said that bullshit had to stop, and it had to stop now. And they didn't bleep him. They couldn't do it. That was live. He was pissed. And he said the reason that guy lost is because now you've lost and pissed off all the daddy bears and the mama bears, and they all came together in unity over the fact that you said the government needs to be the determinant of what happens in your child's life. You don't have a say, parents.
Yeah. That's what happened. And that coalesced everybody together. They said, "No way, no how. That don't fly." And now you have people that realize they do not turn into pumpkins. They don't turn into pixie dust if they vote for Republicans. So now, guess what? You have a whole army of people that realize, actually voting Republican is really not that big of a deal. I can do this again and again and again. And so who knows what may happen in the next, few go-rounds. So this could be a whole new trajectory for the Republican Party. Who knows? We'll see.
This could be a brand new path as of November 2nd for 2022, I submit.
Yeah.
One of the other guidelines, folks, I'm talking to Kevin McGARY of EBLM, Every Black Life Matters, and Lonnie POINDEXTER is also in the saloon here with me tonight. He'll be back on next Thursday night, the 11th. One of the guidelines is nonviolence. BLM doesn't embrace that at all whatsoever. And the other thing that I think is absolutely critical, and we have talked about it, Lonnie and I have spoken about it before, and many other guests here on the show, one of your guidelines is fatherhood initiatives.
Yep.
To which I reply, thank you, Great Society. Thank you, LBJ, in 1964. Thank you for that famous quote, which I won't repeat here, about getting a certain contingent to vote Democrat forever.
Yep. On that tarmac when he was getting off or getting on the plane, we heard that recording. We know exactly what he said.
Fatherhood initiatives. Fathers belong in the family.
Yep. So real quick on that. So what we realized. So the reason why I said that my father came home every night, that was an indelible mark. My father was actually a alcoholic, just a real runaway alcoholic as well. But the bottom line is he came home every single night.
Yep.
So the example that is for everybody is, look, kids don't need a perfect father. They don't. I didn't have a perfect father. But he was, for me, a perfect example. And what I mean by that is this. He set an example for me in his imperfections, because what I was able to see is, I have an alcoholic gene in my family. I know that if I play around with alcohol, I have a high propensity, because his father was the same way. I have a high propensity that it's very likely I'll be beating my wife, I'll be coming home just like this and this and this, and I'll follow the same pattern. He taught me a very, very valuable lesson. And I said, I do not want to be like this. So I was thankful that I was able to see this pattern in him. Now, thankfully, my mother prayed him into the kingdom, and he just went cold turkey, and it lifted. Right, when I was 18, he just had no taste for it anymore, and he's a mighty man of God to this very day, still working every day. Very successful real estate broker in San Francisco, and he's doing his thing. I mean, he's just a very successful man. So, and he just had his 85th birthday, and we just love him and honor and cherish him.
Wow.
But bottom line is that you don't have to be a perfect father. Just be connected to your children. That's the message. Just be connected. And so we want to encourage fathers, even if you have children that are scattered all around, look, you don't have to be, even if you can't live with them because they're all around, fine. Just connect with your children. Just connect with them. Just remain connected to your children. That can still make a mark with them. It can still help them. It can still keep them on a certain path and allow them to see you. And that could be enough to help them to prevent them from making some terrible other mistakes they would be making in life. So fatherhood is very, very important. So
one of the other guidelines that you mentioned is real justice, and in that section, you define real as righteousness embraces all life. What do you mean by that, Kevin McGARY?
All life would be from conception to the grave. I mean, that's a prevailing theme from us. Is we don't excuse life as being only life that's experienced outside of the womb. Well, even with Northam, though, and some of these leftists, they think even if it's outside of the room, as mom says, look, I don't really want it anyway. They can kill it even outside. We say, look, from conception, that's life. You have to respect it. It's God's life from conception to the grave. So all life. So real justice is acknowledgement of all life. And so justice begins in the womb. It's fundamentally what we're saying.
Another guideline is pro-law and order. Again, you are the anti-BLM in that. Yep.
So nonviolence, law and order, that all goes hand in hand. We think that, in order for us to really have a civil society and to have a righteousness prevail in our land and the ability to get along as brothers and sisters, we have to be able to respect authority and law and order. And so this is how we do it. And so we don't defund police. We don't, we respect police and we respect law and order. And now, it doesn't mean that we don't have some police that are off the reservation and that are crazy. We do. And we have to have, better ways of dealing with corrupt police officers in that, because police officers, like every other segment of society, have some corrupt ones, just like you would in any other, you have a lot of them. You have millions of them. So, of course, you're going to have a percentage that are, corrupt and nut jobs and everything else. So you just have to find a way to deal with them. But when you do, you deal with them. But so that's what we're saying. But yeah.
You have another guideline, criminal justice reform. Can you speak on that?
Yeah. So I think we need to completely combat everything that Joe Biden did in his 1994 mass incarceration bill that he put forth, his crime legislation that he put forth that put people like Lonnie and me in jail for 25 to life for a dime bag of weed. And this was Joe Biden. He was beating his chest and was happy and gleeful about putting people like me and Lonnie in jail for 25 to life. And Trump began to roll those things back. He did a pretty good job, but he needed to do more. He was committed to doing more in the second term. But we need to do more about rolling those things back. And so we're committed to working with whoever, whatever presidents or whatever legislators who work with us to do more reforms to roll back Joe Biden's mistakes. And it was all Joe Biden. He owned it. He still owns it, and we need to correct it. That's what we're saying.
Another guideline, Kevin McGARY, the president of EBLM, and Lonnie Poindexter also is here, director of partner development for EBLM, Every Black Life Matters. Another guideline is anti-racism initiatives. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so, real anti-racism initiatives would be, critical race theory. It is systemic racism. It actually meets the definition itself as systemically racist. And so we need to do all we can to work with parents, to empower them, to help them understand that CRT is in and of itself systemically racist. And we need to roll it back and empower parents and help them to know how to do that. So that's what we do.
And your final guideline is this: there is only one race. Kevin McGARY, what do you mean by that?
We mean that when God made creation, he made one race of people, one humanity. And there is only one race, the human race. And there is 0.002 or 0.02 and a difference in our DNA that separates us. And so melanin is really a fraction of a fraction that separates us from a DNA perspective. And we need to recognize it for what it is. It's really, melanin is, it's a fraction of a fraction. It's nebulous, that separates us. It's melanin is nothing from a DNA perspective. And we put all of our emphasis on it. And it's laughable when you think about what the human body is made up of, and for us to put so much emphasis on such a negligible characteristic. And so, yeah, that's what we mean.
Folks, I want to remind everybody of this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
I've just got a couple more questions for you guys. Lonnie Poindexter, like I indicated, you're the director of partner development for EBLM, Every Black Life Matters. How did you come to learn of EBLM?
Well, I got to tell you, I knew Kevin via reputation through some of the folks that they're in the same circles that we are. So I was aware of his work in general and his books. And so I was aware of it in his association with Reverend Dean Nelson, who is a dear friend to Kevin and myself. But it was really interesting. I'll make this quick because I know you're rounding up the show, is that I was perplexed by the name of his new outreach. I didn't get it, right? So I had a chance to connect with Kevin in Kansas City. We were in Kansas City for an event, and I spoke with him about the branding. Now, I'm an old IT sales and marketing guy. Kevin is as well. It's from the Silicon Valley days. And he explained to me the commandeering of the nomenclature, and I instantly got it. I said, that's very shrewd and very sexy. And so I immediately got it, and, I began to drink from a fire hose for everything I could learn about the value proposition of Every Black Life Matters. And so I've been on the phone, and just like I reached out to you and everyone else across the country that I knew, that they needed to connect with this valuable ministry, because what Kevin is doing and co-founder Neil is, I said he's an alpha. Well, in the truest sense, they are taking this messaging right to and confronting BLM and CRT head on. They want to engage in discussion and talk about the value proposition of EBLM versus Black Lives Matter and versus CRT. And they're pulling the cover off on this and exposing it for what it is. It's straight from the pit of hell, and anybody knows anything about CRT and its origins, which Kevin didn't really delve into, but you can have him back on another show to talk about this stuff, goes all the way back to Nazi Germany. and anything having to do with socialism and communism has never been good for anybody, but especially for folks with the darker paint job. If you look at what they did in Germany, not only to the Jews, but on several folks, several thousand folks of the darker paint job were no longer on this earth because of what Hitler and his cronies did. So he really delves into that. So I'm excited to be a part of it. Folks who want to reach out to me, let me just jump out and say you can reach me at Lonnie, that's LONNIE, at everyblm.com. That's Lonnie at everyblm.com. That's my email address. Or go to the website, everyblm.com, and learn more about the wonderful work that we're doing. And want to encourage you, if you're an organization or even an individual, become a partner. There's a link that says partners. You can click on that. It will talk to you about becoming a partner, and the several levels that you can join us at, so you can get involved with us as much as you want to. And we're going to win this battle because we're unifying as groups of organizations across the country, and connecting with SHR Media, I think, is tantamount to that happening.
Kevin McGARY, you hit on something that I think is completely relevant today. Commandeering the language and branding is very, very important. And you labeled that, you called that shrewd, or Lonnie called that shrewd, and I would have to completely concur. That is a brilliant part, a brilliant aspect of it. I had a real quick example. I had a guy from the Alinsky Center, Saul Alinsky, the Saul Alinsky Center, on the show. And he was the president. I can't think of the guy's name right now, but he was on for the entire hour. One of the first things he told me right out of the bat was, well, the method of Saul Alinsky, what he used, doesn't just have to be for Democrats. I've always been curious, he said, why conservatives don't do something like that, or why Republicans don't do something like that. They had the message, they drove the message, they drove the language, and it's about time that we start waking up and understanding how it is that people think. How is it, again, that someone like Donald Trump, OMB, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, somehow managed to get economic employment for blacks and Hispanics at an all-time high? Why did it take OMB to say, this is a pretty big tent? Why don't we get everybody in it? Why haven't the Republicans up to this point said the exact same damn thing? Get everybody in the tent. Get all the conservatives in the tent. Couldn't give a crap less about your paint job, folks. That's why I'm here. There's a lot of positivism to come out of all of this. That's the whole point. That's one of the reasons that I loved Lonnie, great friend, and I really enjoyed having Kevin McGARY here. Before I go, Kevin McGARY, can you tell us about your Roundup campaign, please?
Yeah, so we have a new way. So a lot of people, we know people are being hit on. We have a Bidenomics that's hitting everybody. Gas, $5 a gallon. Get a piece of beef. It's going to cost you $15 for a steak. I mean, it's so crazy. So look, everybody's being hit on with politicians now. We're getting into this in the midterm next year. So everybody's being hit on with their favorite charities and everything else too. So look, we understand. So you can't write, even if you like what we're doing, even if you deem us, hey, I really think that you guys are probably going to be one of our favorite charities. Good. We would appreciate that if you could write us a big check. But we know realistically, a lot of people, you're writing checks for a lot of other things. And we're coming up to the holiday season. Even if you wanted to, you probably can't, especially to the degree if you want to. So we're going to respect the fact that, that's just reality for people. And so with that in mind, we have a way that everybody can participate. I mean, it doesn't matter. Everybody can do this. Because when you shop, everybody gets a few pennies back. When you shop, you give them, if you shop, whatever you shop for, it costs $15.08. You're going to get, 92 cents back. Well, guess what? Instead of getting the 92 cents back, you just, that 92 cents can go to your favorite charity. You can just go to us. So, everything that you shop for, instead of getting the change back, it can be part of a roundup that would come to us every Black Lives Matters. So it's part of a roundup strategy. We call it, we call it our roundup. And so basically, you can just, elect to register your credit or debit card with every Black Lives Matters. You just register one time, and so everything's fully secure through our partner channel, and it's a whole separate credit card company. You're fully accredited, FDIC approved, and the whole bit. And so whenever you shop for holidays, whatever, you don't have to think about it. Everything's just rounded up to the nearest dollar, and all of the change just automatically goes to every Black Lives Matter. So it's a change up, and so your change just comes to us, and so just those nickels, dimes, quarters, pennies we get, and so it's an easy way for you to give to your favorite charity without having to write big checks or think about any big dollars amounts or think about or have conversations with your spouse about, well, can we send, $10, $50, $20 to every Black Lives Matter? You can just say, look, I'm giving these folks our change. We'll see what we come up with. But, well, let's not even think about it. Let's just give them our change for the holidays. And then that's an easy way to do it. And so it's frictionless. You don't have to think about it, and you can just sign up on our Offerable website. And so that's just a way that we can get everybody involved, and we would really appreciate if you come alongside and can at least do that. You could start with a straight dollar amount. You can say, look, I'll give you $10, and then you can have my change, through the holidays. You can do it that way, or you can just say, look, I'm just going to sign up, and you can just have my change. I'm not going to give you anything up front. Whatever, however you want to do it. We just want it to be comfortable for you, and we would appreciate anything to do. The other thing that we would ask that you do with us is just pray for us. I mean, we're out across the country. We're doing huge critical race theory, trainings and that, and trying to prepare parents for what to do. We want to see Virginia happen across the country in every enclave. And so we're preparing parents with all the talking points to take on their school boards. And so that takes a lot of work and a lot of travel. And we want to make sure that we're in a position to do that with everybody. The other thing that we have is we have a COVID resource center. So we have all of your exemption letters. We have opportunities for you to get ivermectin and HCQ and those types of things with frontline doctors. We have attorneys, resources. All of those things are on our website for you. So we encourage you to go to our website, use our resources. We also have CRT resources. So we have pre-written letters for you. All you have to do is write your name on there, and you can become an activist, and you can start writing your school board and your city councils and your corporations and help them to know your agreement or disagreement with how they're embracing CRT. So we have all of those things for you ready. So we can make you an activist overnight, and you can start to really become engaged and involved in what's happening. So please visit us, everyblm.com, and become a partner with us. Pray for us. Come alongside us. Write us a check if you want, or if not, just join our Roundup campaign. But please help us and pray for us. And that's what we ask.
Kevin McGARY from EBLM, Every Black Life Matters. Can I get you back on the show?
I love it, PZ. Anything, anytime, anywhere, baby.
Okay, and I got to tell you why. Lonnie has heard this 1,000 times, and Lonnie's going to hear it 1,001 times. Kevin McGARY, I got to page 7. I had 17 pages of questions for you tonight, and I got to page 7. Sort of, only at the top. So that's another reason that I would like to have you back. I always script out my questions because you always have to have more just in case things go like that. The other thing is everyblm.com, everyblm.com. Folks, you can go there and donate. I donated $100 last night. If I can do it, you can too. It doesn't have to be 100. It can be whatever it is that you want. You can do the Roundup campaign. It can be the spare change thing. So, Kevin McGARY and Lonnie Poindexter, I want to thank the two of you gentlemen very kindly for being here tonight, sharing your time and energy and your good work with EBLM, Every Black Life Matters. So,
thank you so much.
Kevin McGARY, Lonnie Poindexter, both of you gentlemen, take care. God bless you and Lonnie both, and be safe. So thank you again for being here.
All right. Thank you, sir. God bless you. Thank you. All right. Bye now.
That was Kevin McGARY and Lonnie Poindexter, both of EBLM, Every Black Life Matters. So before I go, I'm going to be having dinner with Lonnie Poindexter this coming Sunday night, and I'm going to sit down with him and discuss a few things with him. A programming note before we go, Lonnie Poindexter is going to be in the saloon next Thursday night, November the 11th. He's going to be here as co-host, and we'll talk about the recent November 2nd elections and what those elections portend for 2022. You know, is there going to be a wipeout, or is there going to be a continuation of the same Brandon regime that we're seeing? Things change not just month by month now, as you well know. 2020 and 2021 have disabused you of all of that. So things don't just change by the month or the week. Things change by the day. And by next Thursday, you can be guaranteed a whole lot of crap is going to happen in the interim. So tune in next Thursday night, November the 11th, 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, and 11 p.m. Eastern. And, of course, 1749.7 hours, paragraph 4, subsector 21 in Bolivian time, because I could never understand Bolivian time. Because BZ, me, and Lonnie Poindexter, next Thursday night, November 11th, we are going to sluice a whole bunch of topics around right here at shrmedia.com. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. So if you want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter at BZEP. I am really active at BZEP, at BZEP. Not suitable for work if you go there. Caution, caution, not suitable for work. At BZEP. Don't say I didn't warn you. And also on my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. Now, my original music tonight is by Possessed Tranquility, a great group. Always intended to have them on, but sadly I never did. Also got to tell you, promotional consideration is by Lockheed Martin, Skunk Works, and the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And Tiaras tonight, and all the other times are by My Little Pony. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I will be concerting in less than 10 minutes. What? Yeah. And thanks to Kevin McGARY and Lonnie Poindexter for being here tonight. Thanks to everybody for listening live. Thanks to being involved in the chat room. God bless. Take care. Be safe. Next Thursday night, Lonnie Poindexter.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night.
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.
Are you curious about marijuana? Florida A&M University established the Medical Marijuana Education and Research Initiative, also known as McGARY, to educate the public about medical marijuana use, as well as the detrimental health and social impacts of unlawful marijuana use on local communities. Empower yourself with knowledge. Find out more at mmeri.famu.edu. mmeri.famu.edu. Mary, educate, learn, talk. Learn, talk. Learn, talk. Learn, talk. Learn, talk. Learn, talk.